Mary,
Bob, Victor,
Mike, Tony, Dana,
Mike, Tony,
Mel,
Adrian, Tess,
Terry,
George, Tony.
Tony, George,
I don't want to say
George.
too many Tonys.
too many Tonys.
Tony, yeah.
Okay, and Bob.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be what they call non-duality. People think it's a new idea or something like that. But look at all the basic texts, the basic scriptures, it's all based on one. Hebrews say, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one God, there's nothing other." Christianity says Father, Son, Holy Spirit, whatever it is, you know. Or omnipresence, omnipotence, omniscience, three aspects in the one. Muslims say there's no God but God, Allah is his name, again the one. So it's nothing new.
Speak up. Speak up a little bit.
Get louder if you can. Deep breath.
There goes the lung.
You got another one, Sarah.
Have a look at that. There is nothing new, dual at all. Anyway, like you say, I'm here, you're there. Where is here? It's there and there is here. Height and depth. You look up at a tall mountain, when does it seems high? Where are you looking at it from the low point? When you're low, where are you looking at it from the high point? Is it two? High and low. Good and bad. Pleasant, painful. Happy, sad. Loving, hating. It's the way the mind functions, dualistically, in the pairs of opposites. The two aspects of the one thing. I say, no one-ended stick. Each stick has got two ends to it. No one-sided coin. There's never been anything other than the non-duality. One essence appearing, expressing, patterning, shaping, forming, and everything. But it's the labels we put on it, the words we've learned that seemingly divide it. We divide it by the word. Good, bad, pleasant, painful. And every word we've ever spoken has been learnt, picked up along the way. We weren't born with any words. Birth and death. Again, can there be birth without? Can there be death without birth, or birth without death? Pleasure, pain. Can there be pleasure without pain, or pain without pleasure? So it might be divided up to somewhere in between, but it's still basically the one. Everything is that one. Nothing other than that. That's what needs to be recognised, and they call it a cognising emptiness. Not that we cognise emptiness, but the emptiness itself is cognising. And they say that emptiness is form. But can the form be anything other than the emptiness? Form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Forms and pattern, shapes and forms, but it's basically all that emptiness, which is cognising or knowing. Pure knowing, another name for knowing is intelligence, the activity of knowing. And it vibrates into different pattern, shapes and forms. And all that vibration is a movement of energy, so it's a natural, what I call intelligence energy. The activity, the intelligence is an activity, it's something that's happening right now. Anyone who's unintelligent right now, or is unintelligent naturally there. And isn't the knowing a vibration, a movement of energy? It's not a static thing, you're not just... The static thing would be the known. But it's knowing. The continuity of that knowing that's going on. That's all that needs to happen to investigate that we've never left that oneness that we've taken ourselves to be separate or an individual through the learning of words. And no word is the real. The word water is not water. The word fire is not fire. The word I is not what you are, or the word me, I or me, is not what you actually are. They're labels we put upon it that's seemingly divided by the word. When you say the word's not real, what are you left with without the word? What can you say without the word? You realise you can't say anything at all. But have you stopped breathing? Have your heart stopped beating? Have your hair and your fingernails stopped growing? Have your food stopped being digested? Cells stopped being replaced? The functioning is going on naturally and spontaneously. Is it any different out there in nature? The earth is rolling around the sun, seasons are coming and going, tides coming in and out. All sorts of things are going on out there. Planets are moving around us. Just like the earth is rolling around the sun. Tsunamis are coming, volcanoes are imploding, exploding. There could be no manifestation whatsoever if it didn't vibrate in the interrelated opposites. And the manifestation they call Maya, or illusion, a seeming happening, a phenomenal manifestation. And the definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. It is appearing constantly. And that appearing is constantly transient, constantly changing. But it haven't left its true nature whatsoever. Now looking at that, you realise you're never out of it. Are you going to have any investment in trying to become something? Anyone who is not being right now, and as being, did it have a start? Did it have a beginning? You can't remember any beginning. You can't remember your birth. Will you remember your death? What you have to remember is the mind is not there. The sentience is not there. The livingness is not there. So there's still nothing other than that same intelligence energy that through this pattern we call the human pattern or form, we are unable to divide it with the word, seemingly divide it, and the capacity of reasoning is there. Otherwise, in its natural state, it would be that basic space which everything appears in, and the silence and the stillness. That would be the screen, and have a look at it and see that is the screen in which everything appears on. Can you postulate or think of anything outside of space? What would it be in? Could there be any sound if it didn't come from silence? And what does it appear in? Take your musical notes, your voice, the sound, all these things are coming from the one essence, which seemingly divides, but never has, never will, or never could. But while we take on the idea of a separate entity, we're stuck in that pattern, and what does it do? It brings about all this psychological suffering, fear, anxiety, stress, guilt, shame, remorse. And that's how I get how to put it, you know. Because when I know I am nothing, that is wisdom. When I know I am everything, that is love. And between those two, the vibration there, the livingness goes on. And Maya Baba had a book out once, The Everything and the Nothing. The everything is the no thing, and the no thing is the everything. They're not separate at all. But it's the idea and sense of separation that is the cause of all our fear, anxiety, stress, guilt, shame, remorse, hate, jealousy, envy. All these come about because we take the stance we are an individual, a person. And even the word person comes from persona, the mask, pointing out again. We've got this mask, or conceptual image, we've added on to this idea of I. I is the one. I am the one. Anyone who doesn't say I, but we've added all sorts of other concepts and get lost in the conceptual idea and image. Everything and the no thing, one and the same thing. Height, the depth, the one and the same thing. I've been through all this before. Look at these things and see for yourself. See the simplicity of it. Nothing's simpler than one, and it's not even the one. It's the non-dual. One without a second, that's what they say. That without the second, because for there to be a second, there has to be the one. There's not two. But leave it in its, as they say, at rest in its uncontrived singularity. A singularity, not contrived and concepts formed around it, singly divided, separated. There is no separation whatsoever. Though it certainly appears to be so. But as I say, the appearance is like the water in a mirage. It seems to be so. It's like the blueness in the sea, which seems to be so. Blueness in the sky, which seems to be so. The rainbow, the snake in the rope. All the different metaphors they put on it that appear to be the real. But if there is nothing separate, you must be and can only and ever be the real, the actual. And all these seeming things around you are nothing but the real also, the actuality. A pattern, shape and form can be broken down into no thing. In the dog chin they call it body, voice and mind. The body's the instrument with the voice expects it, expresses through, and the mind is the essence for which discriminates it through. It's all discriminated into these vibrations or thought patterns. So we say here starts in the fact that you already are that. And keep recognising that I am that. And where or what are you going to fix on and stay with then when you think it's all transient? It's all a constant changing vibration. Nothing solid or substantial or static about it whatsoever. And it's ever fresh, ever new. Always fresh and new, always beginningless. It's a beginningless beginning. A beginningless beginning and an endless end. It's the eternal. Eternity has no beginning and no end. It's not as we think it is when the world began at the Big Bang so many million years ago and all of this. Anything that has a beginning will have an end. But when does now begin? You can say it's beginning right now. Can you put an ending in it? Because even as you say it's beginning, it's already ending and beginning again. It's spontaneous. It's all spontaneous, all ever fresh and new. So you recognise the transients to change. You're seeing it right now, the change is going on. But instead of trying to hold it together because we think this one is better than the next one, we want to hang on to this. So we resist it from going. And the resistance is conflict. We're in conflict, a struggle with it then, trying to keep it there. Not realising that no matter how much we try to hang to it, it is transient, it's going to change anyway, like your body. You haven't got the same body you walked into this room with. You might think you have. But there are thousands of cells working away then right now, breaking it down, replacing and all the rest of the body, and it's changing constantly. You don't see it in this immediacy, but if you ever look back to that body what was like 10 years ago, you'll see the change in it. It's not the same, or when you're a little child. These things need to be investigated and looked at. And where are you going to stay then? How long are you going to stay in it? when we resist it. Resistance is conflict, and the conflict makes you uneasy, anxious, fearful. Something comes up and you don't like. Again, we try to get rid of it. Resist it again. That's what all that's going on in our life. Resistance, conflict and uneasiness. As I say, you let it rest in this uncontrived singularity, you're not struggling with it. Where's the conflict going to be? Where's the uneasiness and disease going to be? And if they come up and they're not fixated on, not believed anymore, give it a chance to move on. If you fixate on something, trying to keep it there, stop the transients from happening. It's seemingly ceasing the change or trying to cease the change, and it's a struggle. And in that struggle brings about the fear, the anxiety, the disease. But let it happen. The earth is rolling around the sun right now. It's not in conflict with anything. The sun is not shining of itself. It's not in conflict with anything that appears in its light. And the darkness doesn't know light. The darkness is the absence of light. The light doesn't know darkness. It's the darkness is the absence of light. The light is the absence of darkness. Neither one knows each other. But they're not the constant, they keep changing. So it's relating to this conceptual image. We need to look at this conceptual image or mask we've got. I'm Bob, the Australian, the good fellow, not so good. I've had traumatic childhood or dramas, or this happened to me, that happened to me. Fixating on those old concepts, keeping them there, not willing to move away or change them or let them go. Let them rest or die away, as they will do if they're not fixated on and kept there. We cling to them and suffer accordingly. And that's all that suffering is what they call cause and effect. And when you recognise this conceptual image you have about yourself as the cause, me is the cause of all your psychological something, and just investigate and ask yourself the simple question, can there be an effect or cause if I'm not relating to this mental image? Can there be an effect without the cause? Well, there can't be an effect if you're not relating it to the cause. So if you're not relating things to the effect, to the cause me, where can the effect lodge? It'll change certainly, but who's taken on as the cause is not taking on, where can the effect lodge? So that's all that so-called karma is cause and effect. If I'm not relating to the cause, there can't be an effect. What's happened to karma? This concept we've got about karma and belief in it, we know we're causing karma. What's the cause in karma if you believe in the cause? You see, the cause is a fiction. Where is it? Investigate these things, see for yourself, that's all I can say. Look at this conceptual image we've taken on board. I'm Bob, the Australian, the good fella. I don't like this, I do like that. I'm unhappy, I'm sad. All concepts, all mental words we've learnt. We picked up the word along the way. Every word you've ever spoken has been learnt or acquired. And the words are not the thing. Drink the word water if you can. Let the word fire burn yourself with it or cook with it if you can. And you look at this I or me and see there's nothing there that is actually substantial or solid. How do you look at that? Investigate it. Everybody's seeing right now. Everybody's hearing right now. Isn't that a fact? You're not saying I'm going to start seeing right now, I'm going to start hearing. It's there. It's naturally and effortlessly there. But when we isolate and say, I am hearing, or I am seeing, well, look at that. You're seeing and you're hearing, but ask yourself this, does my eye tell me I see? My physical eye, does that say, look at this, Bob, and look at that? It doesn't. It can't say anything at all. My eye has never ever said a thing to me. Never spoken a word to me. It can't. It's got no word itself. It's the instrument of which the seeing is happening. How can it say anything? Can't do anything but have those things reflecting in it, whatever, but it's translated by the thought I see. So the seeing is happening. It's a clear seeing right now. It's translated by the thought I see, but that's no longer clear or empty. It's corrupted by the thought I see, because we think it's this conceptual image, me, Bob, the Australian, that is seeing. Can the thought I see actually see? Can the thought see? That's a conceptual image of God. Shut your eyes and prove to yourself. Look around the room and see what you can see, what things you can see in this room with your eyes closed. You realize you see nothing but the blackness behind your eyelids. Couple of little pieces of skin and blotted out the world for you. And we take it to be real. That thought I see, ask yourself, can that thought I see actually see? Can a thought see? You realise the thought I see can't see. The thought I am aware, is that your awareness? Anyone unaware right now? You realise you've been unaware all along. Did you have to say, I've got to find this awareness, or I am conscious, find this consciousness? Put some concepts on it, we think we've got to understand or recognise this awareness consciousness. No. Realise it's constantly there. It's labels we put on it, discriminating it, making it seem different. If you're not unaware, you must be aware. You're not unconscious, you must be conscious. If you're not unknowing, you must be knowing. If you're not all these other things. I'm not thinking, I can't. Gone. It's gone. Anyway, recognise that. The thought I see can't see, the thought I hear can't hear, the thought I'm aware is not your awareness, the thought I choose is not the choice maker. And all being discriminated by this thought. And the thought, or the word, is not the thing. The thought, I just pointed out that they're just labels. When we fixate on a label, taking ourselves to be the label, this body, mind, entity is a label, taking ourselves to be that, and functioning from that belief. We are the individual, we are the person, we are the separate entity, we are the ego. A belief. Another word we've learned, another concept. See what that means in your dictionary. It means an unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason. We've got this capacity of reasoning, which is very useful. But we've taken on the idea we were born, we are with this person without questioning it or reasoning it. Our parents told us, our schools and society reinforce it. We've never investigated it. When we come to start looking at this thing called non-duality or oneness or whatever you like to call it, then you start to investigate these things we've believed in. Taking on the belief is not the actual. An unquestioned acceptance of the absence of reason, acceptance of an alleged fact. These facts we've taken on mental engagement without positive knowledge or proof. See what will stand up to the investigation when you question it. It's a matter of instead of what we've been doing all our lives and what we've been taught to do, to look outside, to question, to acquire, to accumulate, to add to amass, add things to us because we've taken on this idea we're separate. We think we've got to become whole or make it whole or complete. Not recognising on reason it's always been whole and complete, and discarding the things or the beliefs, concepts, ideas and images that are stopping us from recognise that until it's able to rest in its uncontrived singularity. There is nothing other than that. That's the Mahavakya. I am that, this is that, everything is that, and we know that in our language because we put labels on the thatness. That's the chair, that's the carpet, that's you, that's me. That's the tree, that's the flower. They're all labels we put on that, because we say that. And the beingness, that's being the chair, that's being the carpet, that's being the tree, that's being a flower. Anyone can negate your beingness right now. But we divide it and separate. We call God the supreme being. We call ourselves a human being. We've separated. Take a label off supreme, take a label human. You're left with beingness. And it's the label that discriminates. Tells you the interesting thing. When no discriminating thoughts arise, the old mind ceases to be. You're seeing things more in their actuality, more in their reality, or understanding them more. In the clarity, there's less conceptualising going on. And when the clouds are not in the sky, there's plenty of clarity there. And the clouds seemingly block it and obscure it. In that basic essence that you are, there's plenty, it's all clear, it's clarity. What's clouding it? What's the clouds we call it? The cloud of thought. We're blocking them with the cloud of thought. Now, no thought's fixed in the sky. Have a look at that. No cloud, I should say, fixed in the sky. No cloud attached to the sky that's blocking, seemingly blocking the sun. They move. They're transient. They move on. Some might hang around for a little while longer than others, but they certainly move. And have a look at that. Is there any thought fixed in your head anywhere? Is there any thought fixed in your head? Or are they constantly changing, constantly transient, come and go? You might recall a similar thought you had before. Instead of seeing it fresh in you, you're taking it old and putting the old beliefs or meaning into it and regurgitating it, keeping it there. It's all our bondage ever is. The cage of concepts, the bondage of thought. Take that cage away. And the door to the cage is in the cage itself. The way out of thought is in the thought itself. So you recognise, stop the thought, pause the thought. And you can't do that, but it'll happen when you can't put any energy of belief into the thought as being substantial, solid and real. That's all I point to. That's all we're talking about. It's never been anything but the non-dual one without a second. Others have seen it, can't be able to express it better than I am this morning. I'm not expressing it very well. Tell us, and others might understand it or recognise it, but tell us where you're at or where you're going, and if you've got any questions, question them, bring them out, bring them to light. And it might enable you to recognise and see for yourself a bit more if the things, the thoughts or the questions that are blocking it, are seemingly blocking it, might make a bit of clarity there. And that's the only way it can come about, through a little bit of investigation, a little bit of questioning, a little bit of looking into things. And the seeing becomes complete. Not you, nobody's talking to you.
He's talking to you though.
So away you go, get into it.
He's ordering us around. He's telling me what to do.
He was saying I've had enough.
I've got a question, Bob. Just,
Pick up the one. Got it.
on a number of times I've felt like I'm on the verge of
Je klostert maat als ik
I'm on the verge of letting go of self, and fear jumps in. So the fear of either losing my mind
Yeah.
or disappearing totally. And it jumps between the two, death, or whether you just disappear totally or losing your mind.
Yeah.
And some of the fears are around conceptual self
Yeah.
has attachment to relationships.
Mm.
And when I felt like I'm on the verge of letting go, it's like I'm letting go of that whole story, including all of the relationships.
Yeah.
So you're letting go of all of the people you love in your life, and you have to let all of that go.
Yeah.
And so the fear keeps me from going that extra step. So I just wanted to comment on that.
Well, there's a saying, it's very good if you look at it, to do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain. And when you think you're going to lose all your relationships, that'll be the best thing that could ever happen to you. Because relationship is duality. There'll be a natural merging with things, coming together with things. There won't be the division there. Every problem is a problem of relationship, relativity. Relationship is dualism. And when you look into the fear, it's a very hard thing to do. And one of the hardest things you'll ever do. I've spoken to a lot of people, they're frightened to look there. And take the bull by the horns and really look into it. What do you got to lose? You can imagine and conceptualise all sorts of things. But if you let go of it, you'll find what's there and what wasn't there that needs to be there will come about. Because it's not, not fear, the concept of fear, it's keeping the natural state from being there. Because we've taken on this conceptual belief. We are a separate entity. That's what needs to be questioned. Try dropping it, letting it go.
So once you've let go, there aren't really special relationships, because you feel the same about everyone as you do about, say, a wife or a best friend.
No. If you're one with them, then it's be a closer relationship. That might be seemingly a bit further away, but it's still all the one. And as I say, here and there, there seems a long way away. But if you're there, you'll be here. When you're here, you'll be there.
And imagine a relationship without you there, mucking it up all the time.
Also, another aspect, if you look at the world of nature, at the animals, they don't have the ego or any sort of sense of separation. And if you look at the cat and her kittens, she will still treat them in a way the body is designed to treat the ones you are responsible for. So a lot of people have fears like this, that, oh, am I going to still love my wife? I'm going to still take care of my children. And well, if you look out in nature, it's highly likely that you will. Although the other question, and this is, I think, this is what was actually helping me, when that question of fear of losing everything you know and really stepping into complete unknown, if you focus on the fear, you're gonna just regurgitate the fear. How about shifting the attention slightly and focus on this longing of the heart, this desire to find out, this love for freedom? Because if you really put all the attention on the really desiring that freedom, because it's the last desire really, and that kind of makes the fear bearable, and it makes everything you do, like it brings you the courage. It puts the fear on the background, because that longing of the heart is the first pull. It doesn't really matter that you're going to lose everything if you all for that ultimate freedom from that narrative self or that commentator or that self-obsession, and that freedom is the most important thing in your life, then the fear of losing it is not that big deal anymore. And then, yes, as Bob says, what are you got to lose? You're just going to lose the self-obsession. You're just going to lose the nonsense, the imagination about the future and the past, which is not real at the first place anyway. It's just a chatter. It's just a noise.
We're all frightened of letting go. It's an old saying, if a fella falls over the cliff and he's hanging on by her hands, over the cliff, and he's frightened. And he says, help, help, help. And the voice comes to him. He says, is there anybody up there? And the voice comes to him, help, yes. He says, what do you want? He says, what'll I do, what'll I do? He says, let go. And he looks at him, anybody else up there? And the same happened with me. When this happened to me in the ashram, I was over there in an ashram. I got this understanding and everything dropped away. And I was like you. Had nothing to do, nothing to be, nowhere to go, nothing to see. I thought, well, I'll be here for the rest of my life. You know, I split up from my wife to go over there. But when there was nothing to do, I thought, well, all I can do is see what happens. My wife came back, she came over, and we got back together again. I'd moved away from there and came back here and worked again, and all sorts of things have happened from him, but letting it, we lost everything a couple of times since then. And letting it go, it rights itself, just like in nature. For all that struggle and, so, you know, if I'd been in the old way, I'd have shot myself many times of the things that have happened to me, you know. But see, what's next? What's next? Just the same as it's breaking right now, down right now. Parkinson's happening, his knees are going, hips are taken out. See what's on again? But the fear of death has even disappeared, you know, just instead of what ended it all. And see how it comes about, you know. It might be painful. There's a lot of pain here at times. A lot of peace, a lot of understanding, a lot of open to everything. Leave it come, leave it go. Just the same as in nature, it comes and goes.
I love that acronym about fear. False evidence appearing real, because it's all related to a story about yourself. So that you do feel the fear and do it anyway. Because I love that thing. It says actually in the big book, it says you're watching it from another bank now. You're watching it from another bank. You know you're not that, but it still comes up. And yeah, I just think that's a useful pointer.
I had fear, exactly like you related when you said that. When you got a family, I was the same. And then it came to the stage and I thought, I have to take that leap because I want that so badly. And I did. And I can tell you that now that I have more love, more compassion for my kids and others. And it's more to gain than to lose.
Beautiful.
It's usually the opposite to what we think is going to happen.
Yeah, it's just the fear of losing ourselves.
Yeah. You know, and it's not necessarily about letting go of family or letting go of your kids or your wife or, you know, people that you're close to. That's what our thinking tells us, which is usually always wrong. You know? It's letting go of self. It's letting go of the notion of this entity, this me that believes it's here. It's just that. Seeing that, letting go of that. Who is there to let go of that? Nobody. So it's either going to happen or not. But it just happens by itself. There's no you there pulling the strings. There's no you there. Even your question, you know, I have fear around blah, 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 blah. There's no Michael there asking that question. Otherwise, this is what's being talked about here, or what Bob talked about in his spiel is not true. Totally not true. Yeah? The whole idea of non-duality is there is no separate individual me. It's not. But the problem is we take credit for everything that comes out of our mouth. Even if it's a question and we're sitting in this room and we're, you know, firing questions at Bob, we still think it's me sitting here asking Bob that question. And it's not. The question just arises. Then we immediately take credit for it. It's me asking that question, or it's me experiencing fear around letting go. You know, it's not all of that. Just like thoughts arise, whatever comes out of your mouth, it just arises. It just happens. It's about witnessing and being aware of that fact, rather than assuming there's a me here that I've got to let go of, or there's a me here that, you know, needs to be seen, you know, or a me here that needs to gain, or have, or grasp, or even understand. You know, there's not one there, and that's literal. It's literal. That's not even a pointer. That's a fact. You know, there isn't a separate, isolated, individual me here. That needs to be seen. By who? Nobody. Get your head around that. It's the problem with this is it's a complete and total paradox.
Bob wants to add
What were you
something.
going to say, Bob?
So that's what I expressed when I say I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not talking to any mind. I'm talking to that I am that I am. To that sense of presence that expresses through the mind as the thought I am. Just to this, nothing else. So you can say the same thing to the sense of presence, the knowing that you are. Who's to speak to? And who's speaking? That I am to the I am.
And at the same time, sometimes it seems so intellectual when someone says that, oh yeah, there is no me, you should recognize that there is no me, it's just question arising. That's true, that's the ultimate truth. But if you are really identified with your core of, you know, like you really feel you are, my feelings, emotions, I'm all of me, and this is, yeah, it's a beautiful theory, but how do I get there? How? From that identification with the me, I will get to the place where I realize that this is just forms arising. It is impractical. So for me, what was practical at this junction was the, you know, they're talking about the idea of surrender, the surrender of the self, of the separate self. But how can the self surrender itself, or how can the ego get rid of the ego, or how, like Bob is sometimes quoting Banki, how can you wash the blood with the blood? Is still blood there. But the whole idea of surrender for me was the call for devotion. Like, okay, there is this wonderful freedom, oneness, consciousness, all-pervading essence or energy of life. And I am that, I'm just imagining myself not to be. And ask the me, I have to die to actually get this so-called eternal life of the freedom. Am I ready to die for it right now? Am I ready as the individual to sacrifice myself and die? Because for the individual, it almost feels like it is a death. Like it dies, the ego dies. And now, of course, nobody wants to die. But in that calling, in that going back to the heart and that devotional love towards this, whatever it is at this point is an idea. It's only an idea of enlightenment or oneness or God or whatever it is. But if the love for that idea is there in the heart, the readiness to die also is. And I remember these moments of focusing on that devotional part and having that question posed to myself, am I ready to die for it? And then coming to the heart and yes. And in this moment, just completely dissolving as that yes to it. Suddenly there is nobody there, it's just consciousness waking up. Because that consciousness is a natural state. It is there when you don't think. So it is there where you are so in the zone doing something, expressing yourself or working, that there is no narrative self, there is no ego commenting and taking credit and identifying. So it is really very, very easy. It feels like if this is an idea, the huge, great enlightenment, how am I going to get there? Impossible task. But am I ready to die? And then suddenly, yes, I'm not there anymore. And the life is still there. Oh my gosh. Who is looking at that life? Is the life looking at itself? Is the life experiencing itself? This is the vehicle through which the life experiences itself. because the readiness to die bring that surrender.
And you find out in lots of ways that you find out in lots of ways the urge to go into a little story about what's not actually happening, and the minute you see that, you can take a big breath and go, because you're cognising emptiness, or you're not cognising emptiness. You've seen that the story into what's not is trying to drag you, but there is no you to drag. But the minute you see that, what a relaxing little moment that is.
That's what St. Francis says in his prayer of dying. It's only by dying I can have eternal life. He wasn't talking about carking it. He was talking about that sense of presence, dying to that believed in entity, you know. And St. Paul says the same thing. He says, I die daily. He wasn't carking it every day. Dying to that sense of self. And somebody else, well, I read somewhere in the dying now to the now.
Once that happens, for me, I'll speak from my own experience, I saw the world so much more beautiful than I actually see it now. I was saying to my husband, it is so beautiful, the world. It is really, really beautiful. And you see people much brighter, beautiful. So until you experience that, you have doubt, you have that fear. I went through the same thing, and it's normal. But like Kat said before, I thought, no, this means more to me. I have to take that leap. If it means dying, actually dying, I'm going to do that leap. And I did. That's what surrender is. You just give into it, and that's it. And then you find, first of all, it's not as elaborate as people make out enlightenment. I don't like that word enlightenment.
No.
I feel it's just a realisation of who you are.
Who you're not.
You find out who you are and who you're not. So for a while it was a shock because you're not expecting that experience, you know, as such to happen. But afterwards, when you sort of be in it, you see all the beauty in everything, and it's just so different. And even afterwards, there's always downloads coming down to give you more realizations about yourself and life itself continuously. So you've got a lot to gain, more than now. And what Bob and everyone touches all the time, we suffer now because we don't understand it. And so everything we take it, you know, as me to heart. But the other way, you don't take it like that. You see for what it is. So the suffering just drops.
And the temptation to jump back into self, that's there
No,
sometimes?
no, you don't. Why would you want to go back to
I know
the
you
self?
would want to, but
Why would you want to go back to something that you're not?
yeah.
You already know what you
Just
are.
that's it.
That's it. I mean, you try now to find who you're not. Yeah. Why would you want to go back to that again? You're not better off. You've experienced that. You've had that.
I just wondered whether it kind of stays out there waiting to grab you back.
No.
It'd be like you saying, is there ever the temptation or is there ever the experience of you falling back into nothing? Because it's nothing. It doesn't actually exist. At all.
That's right.
Like, at all.
There's only you
So
and no
you
one else.
So you can't fall in and out of it. It's not there, you know. And part of the process is coming to see what you're not.
That's it.
It just is, you know. That's, you know, this particular path, you know, this particular style of non-duality is really about coming to see what you're not. Yeah, because otherwise you're constantly trying to understand who and what you are from what you're not. It's impossible. It's impossible. So there's a dreamed character, okay, trying to understand what it's going to be like when you wake up. The problem is when you wake up, the dream character disappears, just like in sleep. It's exactly the same. It really is.
Are you going to say something, Bob?
Just what you are, you already are.
Mm-hmm.
And so-called enlightenment is just getting rid of the burden of belief. When you lose that burden of belief, it's much lighter.
Yeah.
And also what Terry was saying in the beginning, which is really helpful, is the way to deal with fear, using even the logic. Because what he was saying, the reality is that there is no me coming up and asking question. There is just a question. That's the reality. And to have the taste, because on the beginning we usually have this grand ideas of the achievement and the goal and in the future. But the samples that Bob gives to people, what's wrong with right now if I don't think about it? This sample is actually showing you a glimpse of your natural state. When you pose the thought and you have no narrative self for the moment, and then you see that you are still breathing, you are still seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, it's just really nothing. At that point, this is not a state of ecstasy or bliss of waking up, oh my God, this is... No, it's just a natural state, the same state as the cats that walk around here. They in the natural state. So what is there to fear? You see when you pose the thought and the hearing, seeing, everything is still happening. There is no fear. There is nothing to fear because the fear is only a thought. It's only the idea. It's only an imagination of something bad that is going to happen or something bad that is not going to stop happening. So actually... To have the sample and taste the state of no thinking, which means no narrative self, which means no ego, and see how safe it is, how natural it is, and see that in that state you're still digesting your food, you're still walking, you can still do anything, everything is safe, is okay, it's really no threat in that state. And from that state, what Terry was saying is totally relevant. Just see, from that moment when you pause the thought and there is no thinking, suddenly the question arises, and suddenly the idea that this is me asking the question, while this is just a question. And then witnessing that moment of identifying with whatever arises, identifying with thought that arises, is really, really lucid. Is a realization which later on helps you to see how the identification comes about every time, and then it kind of breaks the moment of observing. It breaks the belief in that identification. It's a habit. It's nothing else.
Putting the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Cart before the horse.
Yeah. We need to break the illusion or the assumption that me is here. It's got to be broken. It has to be seen. You know, and the only way to see that is from purely witnessing, seeing for yourself. It doesn't matter what I say or anybody says. You've got to see it for yourself. So, you know, as I'm speaking now, I have no idea what's going to come out next. None. Absolutely zero. It just flows out. Whatever it is, you know, your questions that you pose, they just flow out. The problem is we assume or believe that there's a me here doing it, asking it. So the trick really is to observe everything just happening.
As it is.
There's no doer there. That needs to be seen. You know, I often refer to the body and its functions. It's a great place to start throughout the course of the day. Yeah, because you're kind of with it all day. Yeah, watch and observe all the things that it does that's got nothing to do with you. Like zero to do with you. You know, you might find that you're sitting there watching your TV and your foot starts tapping. You know. Oh, that's interesting. Wow, like there's just so many things I didn't think about moving them. There's so many things that this body is doing that just happens and we miss it. We completely miss it. Just like thoughts just happen or a question just happens. Even the notion of, there's a me here that's feeling fearful. That also just happens, but it's just a thought. It's only ever a thought that arises. What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Not that there's anybody there that can choose to think about it or not think about it. Okay? That is a pointer. Yeah? All it's saying is that all of our problems, all of our meanness, all of the self-identity, the me that we believe ourselves to be, is nothing but thoughts that arise. That's literally all it is.
And I love that pointer of Bob's that says what's wrong with right now unless you think about it. That's really poignant, that pointer, because to think about yourself, you have to go into memory. And then you have a memory of the me, and then you have a story about that memory related to that me. And then you project that into the anticipating and imagining into the future, me and the other person, place or thing. You know, so then you're having a response to the thought of you. So it's a bit of a circus when you start to see it. And then Bob says something like, what's wrong with right now unless you think about it? Bang.
And another thing, there is no me unless you think about it.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's just saying it in a slightly different way, but there is no me unless you're thinking about
That's
it.
right. That's exactly right.
Which implies the me is nothing
Thought.
but thought. That needs to be seen for yourself. That must be seen. And you're in the box seat to see that. You are. Yeah, it's something that you can literally see.
You just said the
Become,
number.
become aware of.
No, try to be in the present all the time, and you will be.
The thing that really helped me is like because there's thoughts, I assume there was a thinker. It's like a sudden snap. It's like I've got all these thoughts. It's like, so the assumption was there's a thinker of that thoughts. So when I broke that assumption that there had to be a thinker there, I don't know, that really helped me.
Yeah, it places it. Then there's just awareness of.
There's just the thoughts that.
Just awareness of.
Yeah.
Thoughts coming and going, as opposed to thoughts coming and then the illusion, and it's a total illusion, that there's a me here that's doing the thinking.
That's thinking them. Yeah.
Or they're coming
You know,
to
if that was the case, turn them off. If you're doing the thinking, knock it off. Like really, you know, like switch it off for a couple of weeks and go fishing. It'll be there when you come back, I promise you. And then just switch it back on again, and it'll all be back again. We don't have any say over it. We don't have any choice over it. It just happens, just like our heart beats. Just like we
Yes.
breathe in and out.
See if there is a digester of the food or if there is a grower of the hair.
Well, that's definitely not there.
I'd give him the set.
Got rid of him years ago.
Yeah, got rid of that one years ago.
Me is mine, mind is me, mind is past. There's no me in the present.
Well, there was a very recent well of feeling that came up, which was very intense, and it felt like a lot of grief was just literally pouring out of my system. And I struggle to reconcile my non-dual inquiry and where that's taken me into the openness and then this very visceral feeling of matters of the heart, and I struggle sometimes with, you know, this kind of non-dualistic what seems like a negation of a very raw, real experience of I suppose love, and and so I suppose with what just happened to me a couple of days ago, I find that, yeah, I'm struggling to, yeah, I'm not sure.
Can
Relating all that to when the grief was there and coming out, let it out.
Mm.
Let it pour out. What's left? You're
And
not
you
relating.
already recognized it as love, didn't you?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Mm.
So there's nothing wrong with any of that, Tess.
I know. I suppose I really identified with Mick over there, and it's almost in that moment of, it was like a recognition of, fuck, I don't let myself feel this. I don't let it out.
Yeah.
And I suppose part of the grief was maybe that the conceptual self doesn't allow me to feel fully.
Mm.
And maybe that's what it was. It was a recognition that, fuck, I don't just let the mind drop away so that I can just be.
Yeah. When you got a full cup, can't pour any more into it.
Yeah.
You got to empty it out, renew.
Yeah.
Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Reminding. Fresh and new every moment.
Fresh and new, yeah.
And yes, it is always the conceptual self that is trying to control and tame and manipulate and adjust. You know, the freedom just outpours itself. Like when there is a cloud pregnant with rain, there is no one who is trying to stop it because it's not right, it's not non-dual. No, it just goes off.
Mm.
And the thunderstorm, it just goes off. It all is free and yeah, so your intuition is beautiful. That you see there's a conceptual narrative self that is trying to kind of keep it in the boundaries. And because you know on the bottom of the heart that grief is love, of course. Then why not just let the consciousness of life fully experience the beauty of that intensity? Just fully embrace it without really stopping anything. I mean, just let that river flow and break the banks, do whatever.
It's happening anyway.
It will, and that's wonderful that it's happening anyway. No matter how much resistance you will put towards it, it will take its course.
I suppose there's been, and this is the thing, it's like I can, whenever there's that feeling, there's the addiction to self, it's almost like I want to go back into this conceptual self to not experience freedom, actually.
Or to not feel.
Isn't it fear of letting go?
Fear of letting go?
Yeah, letting go of itself, to surrender. It's the fear of surrendering.
Yeah.
Letting go, you think you're going to lose your power. You're hanging on to that. Isn't it that?
Yeah, I know that, but when
I'm just saying that's what it is.
I get the concept. I get it.
Yeah.
It's just when I haven't been in it this intensely before.
Yeah. Well,
can you really go back? Can you go back before you started looking into the stuff? Can you go back to that?
No.
Okay.
Thanks for nothing.
You're welcome.
Keep going forward.
You're welcome. That's it.
Thanks for nothing.
That's all of that is beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's just happening.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, you know. The freedom is there not being a me there in judgment around whatever it is that's happening. Whether it's grief, whether it's joy, whatever it is. That's the expression of
What is?
certainly not me. Okay?
Yeah, I suppose I've come in. I'd come into this inquiry like every other inquiry, and almost like trying to get it in the mind and not fucking feel.
Yeah. Well, the good news is it wasn't you that came into this inquiry. That's the good news. Yeah? And the other good news is it's too late to turn back. So
Say thanks for nothing.
yeah, so it's already like leave it all be. In other words, allow everything to be. Just leave it be. It's
Go with the
okay.
flow.
Like
What a
if there's
choice.
grief, if there's tears, tears of grief or sadness, purge it. Like let it, leave it. Like totally allow it.
And that includes also the resistance. I mean, there is a part of it which I also understand. I mean, you don't want to just completely collapse in a working place and stuff like this. And you don't really know what is behind the corner, and that not knowing and that being careful is also a facet of love. It's also not you doing it. It's the whole picture, the whole dance, wanting to go with the flow, being afraid that it will completely break the banks and it will collapse you. And all that dance, every single aspect of it is the consciousness playing.
Yeah.
And
Allow it
just
all
see
to
the
be.
whole play and see this is one aspect of love. Oh my God, grief! This was something so beautiful and precious, and it just gone like a sand mandala. What a waste! That's love. Another part of love. Oh my gosh, should I allow myself to just go with it? What if that will? That's also love. That's the caring part of
Everything
love.
is love, yeah.
It's all that beautiful dance, and you have the privilege to witness the whole show.
Just witness.
Just enjoy it. Just see the beauty, the intensity, the colors,
It's you said collapse, and that I think that's what sort of came up too the other day. That there's there was an association that actually there's a distinction between collapsing and being present to pain. There's a distinction that I thought feeling was collapse, and in fact that's not true.
No.
We usually fuck it up.
and whenever the feeling wanted to arise, I went to sleep. Actually, I'd dissociate. I'd leave it somehow, collapse.
Yeah.
But I think there's just in this whatever it is, I suppose, staying awake. There's this feeling that's emerging, and it's like I haven't been present to it like this before.
Wow.
Just being present.
Awesome.
There's a saying I like it. God, I was chasing God, now God's chasing me.
Beautiful.
Very much letting go into that. God, whatever word you want to use, it chases you. You don't have a choice anymore.
Cat kept hitting on it. Okay? Usually when that stuff happens, we'll revert back to an old habitual thinking pattern around it, which might be, I don't want to experience this. I just want to resist it, push it away, or turn away from it, or whatever. Yeah. And then there'll be a thought associated with that too. It feels uncomfortable, it's fearful, I don't like it, but all usually negative connotations. Yeah, and we don't want it, and we push against it or resist it or try and turn away from it. What it actually is love. But from a dualistic standpoint, as human beings, we think we know what love is. We haven't got a fucking clue. And I'm dead serious about that. Whatever it is that we feel we experience as love in this dualistic pattern, I've fallen in love with somebody. Bullshit. It only lasts a little while. It does. It only lasts a little while, and then it starts waning, and then we start picking on them, You're not the way I want you to be, or you're not the way I want you to be. What happened to that original so-called love? It's not love that we think we experience dualistically is not actually love. It's always absolutely conditional.
I was just going to say it's a conditional
There's
love.
no ifs or buts about it. It is, okay? What is being experienced there, which we confuse in our dualistic thinking as being not comfortable, not right, not nice, I don't want to experience, what's wrong with me? All that stuff is wrong. It's completely wrong. What's actually being experienced is love.
Real love.
Real love. It's totally okay. Leave it be. Like really, you won't disappear. You won't get hurt. Whatever it is that your head's telling you is going to happen, it doesn't. A bit like Michael before when he was saying, I'm scared to let go of my family, I'm scared. And then, you know, Mary qualified it beautifully. The truth is, you are more in love with your family.
Mm-hmm.
You are more connected with human beings. Everybody. Like, you are one with it. There's no separation. Does that mean that I view every person exactly the same way? No. Cat covered that in nature. I'm closer to my family, you know, as the mother is to its kittens. Do you know what I mean? So there's a natural, innate way that we act and respond and behave. Call it nature, yeah? Call it whatever you like. That is there. But the idea that, you know, I've got to let go of family and what, you know, what's that going to, I don't really want to do that, you know? It doesn't happen. What you're letting go of, not as, what you're actually letting go of is not the family. You're never letting go of the family. You're never letting go of other human beings. You're never letting go of nature. You're never letting go of the fact that you're standing on planet Earth and that planet Earth is in a solar system and the solar system is in a galaxy. There's trillions of galaxies. Like, what the letting go of is just seeing the false self. That's all. But there's not even anybody there to let go of that. It's just purely seeing it. So in other words, seeing it for what it actually is, this me. Seeing it for what it actually is. And you look.
Seeing before thinking. It's seeing before anything else.
It's just seeing. And even if there's thinking going on, doesn't matter. It's seeing that.
Yeah, but you just said that there's no you there, so who's seen it?
That's right.
That's it.
That's right, that's right, but
That's
doesn't
right.
click.
Yes, so let me touch on this one because I think it was important aspect of what Tas was saying, and I remember Mary had a big realization around that also. At the point of conflict, there seems to be two selves, like, you know, one is pulling me to experience fully and another one is pulling me to resist. It seems like there is maybe a true self and a false self, or there is a narrative self and there is an ultimate self. It feels there is someone, Mary, you used a small self and a big self.
Lower self, yes.
Or lower self
That's
and a higher self, and then who's hearing and all this. The point, and this is often when people kind of get misguided because there is idea, okay, what am I going to choose? So now we have the third self that is choosing to go with narrative self or to go with the big self or whatever the self. Now, recognizing at this juncture that there is no multiple selves and there is no one who can choose anything at all. There is just a flow, that is just what's going on. Whether the attention will go with the narrative, so-called narrative self, because there is narrative self is illusion. There is no narrative self.
A journey into what's not.
Yes, exactly. But still, it's just a ride. You know, it's just a ride.
It's a journey, a ride. Yep.
Yes.
So they're all just thoughts.
Yes.
The journey into
Yeah,
what's
but they're
not.
just a fear of letting go. That's all it is.
And then
That's what I said earlier in the piece. Do the thing you fear, that does a fear and go right into it. It might be very painful, you don't want to go there, but if you can work
Fear
yourself,
right through to
have a
the
look at
end.
it, there's nothing there. It's only a
Yeah.
concept that's made a knot in the guts or an ache in the heart or some thought.
I had to pull over at times, you know, the anxiety and the fear would be that much. I'd have to pull the car over off the side of the road, sit on the side of the freeway, shaking, and just be it as much. For me, I was just be as much as I possibly can. Just, all right, that's it. Kill me now. I've had enough of this crap.
Well, it didn't do a very good job, did it?
Well, then the next thing I know, I'm starting to ute up and I'm driving to work again, and you sort of go, oh, well, that's that. And go to work, pay the bills. So.
The action self in action.
Yes, so everyone is asking for you guys to be louder, but I see that nobody's going to touch this mic, so I'm sorry, people.
I tried in the beginning, but...
Yeah, it didn't work, it didn't happen again.
Don't get out the whip if you do or you don't. So.
Oh.
Thanks for the reminder, Bob. And that's what it is. It's like, I didn't recognise just how much fear there is in this system, but there's also like at that moment on the weekend, on Friday, there was like, it's time to really look at it,
Yeah.
because it's been running the show.
Yeah.
And I've been avoiding, there's so much sort of behavioural stuff just in the avoidance of it that I haven't really faced it.
We don't have any concepts about it. The concepts stop the work. Then you look at there's really nothing there.
Yeah.
Just be with it.
Yeah, and the irony is the avoidance keeps it there.
Yeah.
And also, it just happens.
Yeah.
Just see how the avoidance, the fear of unknown again is another phase of love that is trying to kind of protect what is known, what is familiar. This is kind of a survival instinct, part
That's
of it.
right. Yeah.
And don't even take credit for this.
No.
Because the next thing, at least it was my case, was beating myself up. Oh, why am I not doing it? Why am I, taking credit for that? So the whole picture is just the content of happening.
Yeah.
Content of happening.
You can't do life wrong.
You can't do life wrong, yes.
And life doesn't do life wrong.
Because you don't do it.
Because you don't do it.
Yeah.
Once you see it and you think, oh my God, all that for nothing.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
For nothing, yeah.
Yep.
But everything at the same time.
Yeah.
Nothing and everything. And it's all love.
Yeah.
You are life. It really is.
Yeah.
It?
Mm.
And it's happening.
Yes. All by itself.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the so-called so-called individual. Nothing.
Yeah, so I would like to answer, Tony, your question. When you ask, okay, who is doing it, who is hearing it, who is listening?
You were doing cat.
Yes. Yes, because...
No, because Terry just said before, says there's no you there. He's telling Mike there, or Mick, whatever his name, or Michael, is it? Says there's no you there, right?
Mm.
But all it needs is to be seen,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's not there, who's going to see it?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it goes back to the oneness then.
Absolutely. Yes. That's how I wanted to answer
Because
your
that's all there
question.
is.
You answer it. Yes. Mm-hmm. That's
It's
it.
that, and it's
Yeah.
always been that, doing the scene.
Yeah.
Always. So you can't not see.
One day we'll get a shock too.
And then Bob is always kind of presenting it in a beautiful, lucid
Yes.
way. The seeing. You wake up in the morning and you open your eyes, and the seeing is available. The whole space of seeing, the capacity of seeing is available. Before the concept comes up, I am doing the seeing. Nobody's doing the seeing. So when you say, have a look and see, who is to have a look? Who is to see? Is the same one who does the seeing, the physical eye seeing. Is the same one. There is only one. So the same one is to understand, the same one is to realize, the same one is to wake up, or whatever label you put on it. But of course, for prolonged amount of time out of habit, it happens to look through the filter of the identity, through that costume or car or house or coat that you put over, and it says, no, is that coat seeing now, or the body or whatever is seeing now, instead of just pure seeing, or is the eye seeing now? So it is really about always the same one. But it's good to remind that question. It's good to pose it occasionally. Yeah, who is asking the question, or who is not getting it, or who is to see it, or who is resisting? Yeah, they all the same questions. And then the answers to those questions should come out from the one who asks the question. So if you ask the question, who is seeing? I'll ask you, tell me, who is seeing? Is that the eye seeing? Is that the body seeing? Is that the conceptual idea seeing? Or is just seeing? Because you may have the concept that this is the individual, is the Santa Claus here seeing. Doesn't matter that everyone says that Santa Claus is not real. It's still the Santa Claus seeing. And if you really believe it, 100%, that will be your experience. Just like people who believe in angels or whatever they believe in, that's their experience. But it is about questioning beliefs, stepping out of beliefs, and really checking with open mind, with not knowing what to find. Because if you say, okay, I'll check, They told me there is no one there, so now I will believe that there is no one there. Nope, that's not the way.
That's right.
That's just switching one belief to the other.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the mind.
Exactly.
The mind, I can't do a thing with it.
Bob says at the beginning, you know, I'm not speaking to anybody,
Yeah.
and I'm not speaking to any mind. I'm speaking to that I am, that I am. And you're sitting there now, okay? Are you seeing?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, sit there and choose not to. If you think you're the seer, sit there and just choose not to see.
No, you can't.
Why not?
Because seeing, it's just that seeing just happens. I don't
I'm over it. I'm over it.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
It's okay.
Yeah, because you can't grasp it with the
You
mind.
can't.
You just need to stop trying.
There's no bird, there's no flying, there's just a roller coaster ride that the roller coaster's having.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the problem is when, especially when you're working, you're so involved with people, customers, and whatever. Listen to their problems. The guy wants to know how they do this. You forget everything. You know?
Well, when you get
That's
home,
it.
then you let go of that, and you go in a different mode.
But then, really, is that a problem? Because when you are so busy in what you do, there is no narrative self-commenting. There is the full attention goes into interacting with people.
Almost like
So there's no one there.
Automatic
It's just the
pilot.
same way as dogs are interacting, barking at each other, whatever, doing whatever they have to do. The problem starts when you stop interacting with people and now you go to the head, oh, I should have told him this and that and the other, oh, I should have done... Yeah, this is when the problem starts, and this is where investigation is needed. In the midst of action, it's usually not a problem. You are so taken by the action, you won with the action.
Yeah.
The life just expresses, is just like the weather, that rain pouring, there's nobody who is watching it, and it doesn't need to be anyone watching it, because there is no problem at this point. It's just interaction. Like a fight. When Nisargadatta was asked what would he do if there was a fight on the street, and he says, I don't know. I would have to find out. Maybe I would be in the midst of fight. And once you're in the midst of fight, you don't really go and chat to yourself, because you would get your teeth pulled or your eye black. You have to give full attention to the action. The problem only starts when we are out of the zone, or out of the flow, or out of this oneness with
When you're
life.
driving the car and then bang, 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 it just keeps on hammering you.
Yes.
That's when you've got to look at it from the same with all the people and things going around you. You're focused on that one sense. You're utterly awake with the five senses wide open. Even though when you're driving a car and all this is going on, you're still seeing what's on the road.
That's
when
right.
you're talking to people,
Still driving, you're still
when
changing the
all
gears
these
or
people are
whatever.
going on all around, your heart's still beating, hearing things other, hearing other things in the background. Be utterly awake with the five senses wide open. Be utterly open with unfixated. Well, you're not fixating. If you're not fixating on what's going on around, to the exclusion of everything else, you're only partially with it.
I understand 100% there has to be somebody else, something else, because sometimes I'll drive and I don't even know how I got there.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm.
I mean, the car doesn't go by itself, obviously.
Even though you were focused,
How's it
while
been
you were
answered?
driving, you were focusing on something else altogether that was going on. But yet
Yeah,
The
so
other
you
side-
focus in your head,
the other senses were working all right.
yeah, and you get to a point and then you realise, shit, how did I get here, you know? You
Stop
don't
to
remember it.
lights without thinking, and even though,
You can
It
see
still
what it's...
feels.
No, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, it still feels like you can have an emotional reaction though around some people. Like it might be, I don't know if it's not jealousy, or it might be a feeling you're reacting to when you're around that person.
Well, that's what I
So-
understand. Thought, feeling, and emotion are one and the same thing. Different
It's all in the same bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no me there having it. It just is.
Yeah.
And enjoy it for now, because you may not have it for too long. You know, these
Doesn't have much
reactions
power.
fade away.
Mm. Okay.
You may have it right now, and over time, as the patterns and conditioning drops off, you may not have it anymore.
Yeah.
Or you may have it forever, who knows?
Mm.
But
Mm.
you can enjoy it now, because the residue of the humanness You know, at some junction you may find yourself you're not really that human anymore.
Mm.
You don't really get into that human sort of relationship. It may happen this way. So if it's still there, enjoy it. Even though it's a jealousy, or even though it's anger, or even though they push your buttons and it's triggering, it's still a temporary passing phenomena.
Don't push it away.
Yeah.
It'll just come up and move and drop.
Flow through.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The only problem is it comes up, and then we
Fixate on it.
see it and go, oh
That's
God, I'm
me.
feeling that. Oh,
Yeah.
God, look how unevolved I am spiritually. I mean, Jesus, I'm feeling jealous.
You have a dialogue about
It's
that.
it's the narrative
So true.
around whatever comes up that's the
Mm.
problem.
Mm.
It's not what comes up is the problem.
That was said before.
Just be
Yes.
free, leave it.
Mm.
So
Leave it.
imagine what it's like to be the cat who's without the ability to label the rain.
Yeah. And label jealousy also.
No label.
Yeah.
Mm.
What is it?
Just feel it. Just having an experience in it.
Yeah, they're just so
Just the experience
cruising.
itself.
Because they fight and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's always just in a moment.
Mm.
And then the fighting stops and it's over.
Yeah.
Not even another thought. Like, there's no thought about it.
They don't walk around with a resentment.
They're just the elements like us.
Mm.
Okay.
And we can only surmise that too. We don't know that for a fact.
True.
We actually don't know anything for a fact about an animal. Not really,
That's true.
you know. But in the pure observation of them, it would seem that that's how it is.
Well, their presence, they would drop it straight away.
Yeah,
wouldn't they? 'Cause
they just seem to be awfully present all the time.
Oh, there you
And whatever
go.
it is that
And-
comes up, comes up.
Well, the
It's us, the cat.
science can tell us a lot about the brain, about the memory, short-term memory, how quick the memory is. But the truth is, science we really have to take on belief because we didn't do those tests. I can say that a pretty good description of the mentality of cats, but yeah, I still have to believe them.
You ever heard a cat talk about the rain?
Showing the cat.
That's what we've got. It's pretty good.
Go with that.
Gives us a pointer.
Had enough? Time's up.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Lauren.
Kat.
Thanks, Kat.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.